Hello to everyone. My name is Svetlana. I've been working with Dr. Filonov since different years. And from time to time, we're meeting his patients online to see their results and to share with everyone hope. Today, we have James. James, hello, James.
Hello.
He has been with us on our October retreat 2024. So now it's December, 2 months ago. And I would like you to share your story about yourself, your medical issues, and your healing journey before you have discovered dry fasting.
I would be delighted to, and I'm very honored to be interviewed by the beautiful Sveta, who has been such an inspiration to us. She's such a wonderful translator of Dr. Filonov, and it's just been a joy to have her and Dr. Filonov. They're a fantastic team, and they've really been tremendous. I am more grateful than I could possibly express for what they have brought into my life. They have brought my life back again. I'm going to start out with a couple of different pictures that will illustrate very graphically to you the sort of changes that have gone on in my body and my skin. And then I'm going to tell you my story because the pictures will get your attention. The first one I'm going to start with, and this is a little bit unprofessional, but I don't really know how to do it through my computer. So I printed out pictures of these. The first one I'm going to show you are my toes. And this is, okay, there we go. Okay. The one that is, this one, that's the before I started dry fasting. This one is after I have finished my 4th long dry fast. Look at the difference there. And not only the toenails themselves, it has come back to life, all of the toenails, but look at the skin tone in the before and how incredibly I had the skin of an 80-year-old man. I had had Lyme's for probably 10 years. And it had pretty much destroyed my body. And I was aging. I was on the way out. I was aging. I had the skin of an 80-year-old man. And now I've got the skin that I had 20 years ago. And it's literally miraculous. The second picture I want to show. Pardon? I'm 71. The second picture I want to show you is I lost about 4 to 6 notches on my belt. Those pants fit me before I did dry fasting, probably 7 months ago. I started dry fasting maybe 7 months ago. And this was just before I started dry fast. This is just after I finished. Those pants fit me before I started. And that's what happened after my 4th dry fast. I did a 3-day just as a preliminary. Then I did a 5-day, and then a 9-day, and then another 5-day, and then a 7-day. And they were all separated by about 3 weeks of refeeding. So I did one per month for 4 months. And then I concluded on the 5th month with the fast in Montenegro, which was a 9-day fast. The final picture I'll show you this is before, and then this is after. Before, I was having traveling arthritis. It was the most horrible pain I've ever been through. I couldn't walk. My knees, look at how swollen my right knee is there. It was swollen to almost half again its size, very inflamed. And take a look at the horrible quality of my skin. I had I had the skin of an 80-year-old man. And that was all over my body. It was like that. My face, my arms, everything. Then look what happened after. Look how it is now. This is after my 5th dry fast, and my skin is completely revived. I have the skin that I had 20 years ago, and I can't get over myself because sometimes I'll lay in bed and I'll just rub my arms and I'll just think, oh my gosh, my skin is back again, because I had this horrible dry skin. It was just terrible. So that's pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, okay, let me tell you briefly my story. About a year ago, I started getting edema, which is the swelling in my calf.
Can you start from the very beginning? When your problem started?
Okay, I'm starting. This is it. That's it. It's about a year ago. Yeah,
Okay.
about a year ago. And prior to that, I'd had some other symptoms, some psychological symptoms, some paranoia, and I realized now that that was related to my Lyme. So I probably had Lyme for 10 years, and because I've had, if you go way back, but the serious, the physical symptoms started about a year ago when I had edema in my left leg, and it would swell up, and it was painful to walk. It was the beginning of the traveling arthritis. Then a few months later, I had this traveling arthritis. One joint would get really, really sore, and then that joint would start to get better. Then it would go to another joint, and that joint would get really sore. It would go to my shoulder, or this shoulder, or my right knee, or my left knee, and also my wrist. And I'm a pianist, so I couldn't play the piano when it would hit my hands and my wrist. And it was extremely painful. It would swell to, you saw the picture, it swells to like almost half again as big as what the normal joint is, and extremely painful to move. And I thought I had rheumatoid arthritis, and it's very similar, but it's not quite the same, I don't think, as rheumatoid. It's because it's caused by the Lyme bacteria, the Borrelia, one of the Lyme bacteria. So finally, when one of my knees was not healing at all, and it had been almost a week, I went into emergency, and in Michigan City, Indiana, and for some reason they tested me for Lyme. I don't know why, but I thought, well, Lyme
Only
syndrome?
1 year ago.
This would have been probably 7 months ago now, because a year ago was when the edema started, and then the arthritis, and then it was about 7 months ago that I went into the hospital, and they told me that I had third stage. They told me that I had Lyme, and then later they told me I had third stage Lyme, which is the final stage where you just basically your whole life trajectory starts going downhill, and you just don't ever get better, and you get worse and worse and worse until you can't walk, until you want to kill yourself, until you feel horrible. That's what happened with Michelle Slater, which she wrote a book, and I've got it over here. This is also what inspired me. Michelle, it's called Starving to Heal in Siberia, and it's by Michelle Slater, Slater. And it turns out she went to the same art school that I went to in Michigan, and called Interlaken. So I thought, this is a kindred soul. So I read her book. I watched her video. There are some videos of her on YouTube. And she was also final stage Lyme, had been bedridden for 10 years, and she was getting ready to commit suicide, basically. And this completely revived her. So that got my attention. So when they said final stage Lyme, I said, well, what do you do for that? I said, the antibiotics, probably, my computer cuts in and out sometimes. The antibiotics don't, and they said, you're right, the antibiotics are not going to get rid of it, and they'll just suppress your symptoms, and then it'll come back worse than ever when you stop taking. And in the meantime, Dr. Filonov is saying antibiotics are very hard in the liver. They're very, people that take a lot of antibiotics have the worst time with dry fasting, because it's just that much more detoxification they have to go through. So I didn't take any antibiotics. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this dry fasting. And so I started with 3 days just to get a feel for it. And I had, I got through that okay. It wasn't comfortable, but I got through it. And then I waited, I refed for a week or two. Then I did my first 5-day dry fast by myself. And that was a revelation. On about the third day, I finally went out and pitched a tent in my backyard, because it is healthier to be outdoors in the humid outside night air from the grass and the breezes and through the trees. And you feel so good. It's cooling and refreshing, and it's got a little moisture in it. And so when I went out in the tent, I had this one night where I was just hyperventilating. I just had to breathe. I was like, just breathing. And normally I would have almost fainted, but my body just wanted oxygen. It just said, breathe and breathe. So I would breathe, but it was blissful to breathe for the first time. And on the fourth night of my first 5-day dry fast, it was the night of the fourth day. And I'll never forget it, because this calm, this wonderful calmness just came over my whole body. And it was like, I felt just so blissful. And I enjoyed breathing deeply. And I realized what was probably happening. If those of you who are familiar with the autonomic nervous system, there's the sympathetic branch and the parasympathetic branch. The sympathetic branch is fight or flight. That's when your body's under attack, and everything tenses up, and your blood goes to your skeletal, and you can't digest food, and you don't heal, and you're just in fight or flight like this. You're ready to. And I had been in fight or flight for years, fighting this spirochete, this bacteria, this virus or whatever that was in pathogen that was in my body. And I was in fight or flight constantly. And for the first time, my body on that fourth night of just my first 5-day dry fast, my body started taking the offensive and I was starting to get control again. And I was going into parasympathetic mode again, where I was relaxed finally. And that's what you have to be in order to heal. You won't heal if you're in fight or flight like this all the time. It messes up your cortisol. It messes up all your hormones. So then the fifth day, and it goes in cycles, just like Michelle says in her book. It goes in cycles. Sometimes you feel fantastic, and then you have another time of detox where you feel crazy and you feel like you're not going to make it, and what am I doing this for? And then you have another plateau where you realize that it is helping. So I generally don't feel that great at the end of a fast, but it's a few days later that I start feeling really good. In other words, I ended the 5-day dry fast and I had a few days of feeling kind of weak, because you feel kind of weak. You don't have a lot of energy. At least I didn't. And about the third or fourth or fifth day, then you start feeling good again. So I did that. Then I waited. I refed for 3 weeks. Then I dove right into my first 9-day dry fast at home by myself, which I'm not suggesting that you do this. I'm not a doctor. This could be dangerous, especially if you're on any sort of antibiotics or if you're on any kind of prescription drugs. You do want to talk to your doctor. You don't want to just dive into this, because you can have complications. In my case, was on no prescriptions. I was not taking blood pressure medication, nothing. So I just dove right into it, and I did a full 9 days. And then that's when my symptoms started subsiding a little bit. It was probably 80% less. My arthritis was still there, but it was 80% less painful. I was much more in control of it. And it wasn't so unbearably painful. So then I just said, I'm going to keep doing this. So I refed for 3 weeks. Then I tried to do another 9-day fast, because Dr. Filonov at that point, he said, oh, you did a 9-day drive really at home? So why don't you do another one in August, since you are able to do it? So I tried to, but I only got through 5 days, because that was the season when watermelon was in season and it was ripening. And I love watermelon, and it's a wonderful way to come off a fast. And it was in the store everywhere. It was around, and it was like, oh, I just got to have some watermelon. So I only made it through 5 days on that time. And then I waited another 3 weeks, and then at that point, it was probably August sometime. The retreat in October was coming up. I wanted to get one more in before October. So then I did my 7-day. And that was the 1st of September. The retreat was the 10th of October. So from the 1st to the 7th of September, I did my 7-day. And I made it through. I was going to go for 9, but I thought, I don't need to push it too much. I'm going to Montenegro. So I did 7 days. And that was when all of my symptoms, by the end of that time, my symptoms were gone. And I mean gone. I had no more arthritis. And I had had a year of nothing but pain with this horrible traveling arthritis. And also my energy was back. I felt like myself again. My skin was healthier, and I started building a garage, which I could never have done, 6 months prior. I couldn't even hardly move. So, and I wouldn't have even been motivated to do that. So it was the end of my 4th long dry fast that I really started recovering. So the reason I'm sharing this is that if you think you can just do one, 9-day or 5-day fast and be totally cured, if you've got something like Lyme's, it's probably not going to happen. At least it didn't happen with me. So then I had Montenegro, and that was kind of like that really solidified everything and really got things in order. And since then, I can eat high calorie foods, and I don't gain weight back. I think my metabolism is back online. One of the things that happened when probably on the 5th or so day of all these long fasts, I start getting like a lump in my throat and in my thyroid area. And it's just a sort of a tense, it's not painful, but it's just this awareness that there's some knot of stress or something in there. And I theorize, and this is just a theory, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think that my thyroid was detoxifying big time. I think there was probably a lot of toxicity in my thyroid area, maybe even some Hashimoto's, who knows, and it was detoxifying. And now my thyroid's working. I'm digesting food better, and my liver is working so well. I mean, I can tell. Dr. Filonov says we can't feel our organs. We don't know what's going on in our organs, but I'll tell you, I know when my liver's working. I know because partly because I poop a lot better. That's how I know. Because and when I have a bowel movement, it's like I can feel the liver just pulling stuff out, and it just dumps it in my bowel movement. And I feel like every time I have a bowel movement, I feel like I'm eliminating years of toxins. I feel like there was a backlog of toxins in my whole body that my liver was not able to process because I had all this visceral fat, and I had a fatty liver, no doubt. And there was all this fat in my liver. I couldn't process these toxins, so they just accumulated in all of my organs everywhere. Well, now my liver can work again, and it's doing its job, and it's starting to pull all these toxins. So every time I have an elimination, I'm just like, I feel this tremendous relief, like, oh, like I just pooped out years of stress and years of toxins. So it's tremendously fulfilling. I can't recommend dry fasting enough. It has literally saved my life. And the gratitude that I feel for Dr. Filonov and dear Sveta is just, I am so grateful. And they're so affordable too. I mean, it's like the doctors in America. There was one doctor who was studied with Horowitz, Dr. Horowitz, and who's this Jewish doctor in New York who talks so fast. It's like, but he supposedly has cured people with antibiotics, but it's iffy because some people can't take the antibiotics, but a few people have been cured. However, the people that trained with him, he wanted a $5,000 retainer before he even looked at me, and I thought, these days, I kind of like to tell him, you can take your $5,000 and shove it where the sun don't shine because I don't need you. So anyway, I was just thrilled. The whole thing was affordable for me, and it was just a fantastic experience. His staff is brutal but very effective, and it is painful. I mean, they really, it's like you're first of all not comfortable what you're doing, and then you go in and they give you these brutal massages and all these treatments that are bee stings and everything else, but it's just it's worth it. I mean, I didn't feel fantastic right at the end, but about 20 days later, I think Dr. Filonov says that the stem cells kick in about 21 days after the fast, and that's exactly what happened. About 2 weeks after the fast, I started feeling fantastic. I mean, I felt like I did 20 years ago, and my energy's back, my animation is back. I just feel wonderful, and I'm so grateful. And so I just wanted to share that and encourage anybody that's thinking about this. I don't think you'll regret, but just do it according to plan. Doing it to follow his directions. Don't do any water of any kind, and it'll work. At least it worked for me. So there you have
It's
my story.
wordless. You're unstoppable. Your energy is very high. I cannot even introduce myself anywhere. Like, okay. It's not anymore interview. You can continue. You're doing it great. In any case, thank you very much for your kind words. I think the people, in any case, are very curious about all the details, about everything, what people are experiencing before, during, and after, because there are different experiences, different journeys, healing journeys, and the more you share, the better is for the people to understand and to get the right idea of what is going on. First of all,
Yes.
your problem did not start 1 year ago. It started 10 years ago, right? You said.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you been bitten by a tick?
I don't remember seeing any sort of, like the bullet thing or whatever that you see. I was a lot out in the woods. And years ago, I did a lot of stuff out in my garden, and there are deer that run through my yard all the time in I lived. And
Why do you think
so
that
there,
you had Lyme for 10 years? What symptoms did you have during these 10 years?
just lack of energy, and depression, and about maybe 4 years ago, about 4 years ago, or maybe 5 or 4, I had this episode of paranoia that was just unexplainable. I mean, I was extremely paranoid, and it was to the point where I put myself in the hospital for a while because I just didn't know what was going on. And
So I
looking,
suppose that you have taken medications during these 10 years. It's not that you were
yeah,
totally
no,
healthy.
years ago, yes, but since that time, I've weaned myself off of. They put me on some medications that they said I might have to take. One of the doctors wanted me to get off of it. The other one said, "Oh, you'll have to take that for the rest of your life." I had a concussion, and I think that was maybe 5 years ago, and that precipitated the surfacing of the Lyme, because a lot of people can have spirochetes and never get sick. They can be exposed to Lyme and they never get sick. But with me, I think it was the bang on my head. I landed on my forehead, falling down into the basement on the concrete, and it really banged my head pretty good. And my bowel movements got really weird, and I was really, it upset my whole my gut microbiome, and everything and got affected. And that was the beginning, I think, of a lot of this surfacing. And then from there, like a year or two later, is when I had the psychological symptoms. And that's also very much, Lyme's can cause all kinds of serious psychological issues. And so that finally subsided for some reason, the grace of God, whatever. I don't know. Thank you, God, if you did. I don't know what happened, but I somehow recovered from that. And I didn't, and then I weaned myself off of they had given me some psychological meds that were pretty heavy duty. And if I'd continued on those, I would have had tardive dyskinesia possibly, and akathisia, all these side effects that were just horrible. So that was one of the reasons I just got off of it. And then I somehow got stronger, and I was able to work again a little bit. And then now I'm working again, and I do work part-time. I don't work full-time. I'm sort of semi-retired, but
So you
I
have never
recovered.
been diagnosed with a Lyme before. You have never even thought
No,
this
no,
test.
I never connected it. It was when the arthritis hit, and then they, for some reason, had the wisdom. I don't know how. It was a mainstream hospital. It wasn't even a naturopath, but they tested me for Lyme, and lo and behold, there was 3 or 4 or 5 strains or something of the Borrelia that were all positive. So I probably had co-infections, but I didn't get tested for Babesia and Bartonella. I may have those or may not, but it's a moot point. My goal was, if there was a way to just get rid of all of it, I don't even care. I don't want to spend like
What the name is,
$10,000.
yeah. Like doctor is
So
saying, whatever name of autoimmune disease you have, that doesn't matter. You have autoimmune.
yes, yes, right. And the only way to get rid of it is maybe with dry fasting, or at least it certainly will help.
At least we do not know up to now other type of real healing methods that can help autoimmune diseases. Not just to block them, not just to calm them, but to heal them. Have you ever been fasting before, like water fasting, doing other types of detoxing before you discovered dry fasting?
That's interesting. Yes. About 2 years ago, I did a water fast. I did a 7-day water fast at one point. And that was effective, but not nearly as effective as dry fasting. But I was actually in the middle of a water fast when I had a cognition. This would have been about 7 months ago, because that when the arthritis started, I started water fasting to try, thinking that might get rid of it. And one night, Sveta, I had this cognition. It was like, Jim, you can turn your body into a furnace, an incinerator, and you can burn up you can burn up your senescent cells, and you can burn up your pathogens and just rip through them and eliminate them and
And you haven't,
recycle them.
you didn't know about dry fasting yet, right? It was a channeling.
Yeah, it was. And the next day I went on the internet to research more water fasting, thinking that was what it is, and everything that would come up was dry fasting, dry fasting, dry.
Wow. Wow.
So I
It's a very strong, powerful thing.
I believe I have an angel. I think we all have guardian angels, at least 2. And I bless mine all the time. I haven't lately, but I bless you, guardian angels. But I honestly believe they can manipulate electronics, because sometimes things will come into my screen that
Yes.
I haven't Googled at all. It's not the search engines, but it's something that I need to know, and it'll be boom right there in front of my face. And so I think that's what happened. And they put this thought in my head that I could incinerate, because that's what happens is the senescent cells hold on. They basically harbor that the stuff gets into the senescent cells to hide from your immune system. And the senescent cells are the old dead, the cells that aren't working well anymore. They're just hanging around and causing pollution and toxins in your body, secreting cytokines. And so the pathogens get into those cells to hide from your immune system. Well, when you dry fast and those phagocytes come out, and they just rip apart. I mean, you got to have amino acids to live. You got to have fluids to, and the body just pulls out all the stops, and it just rips apart those senescent cells, and then all the stuff that's hiding inside gets exposed to your immune system, which is also supercharged. So then everything gets just burned up. So it's just like the cognition that I had. I just burned it up, and when I would get, one of the things I'll share too is, if you are dry fasting, what I did, if I was sort of keyed up, or I would just go out and walk. I would just walk, even if I didn't necessarily feel like it. I would just walk, and I would move and get that lymph circulating. You don't have to push. You don't have to, like, do a marathon run or something. But just, especially in Montenegro, I loved walking on the sand, because the fit, it felt good on my feet, and it grounded my feet. Grounded me. I would spend hours, even if at night at 1 o'clock in the morning, I would be walking up and down on the beach on the sand,
I
and
remember
it
you
really,
always barefoot.
yes, yes, yes. And it just, that's one way to get through it. And Michelle did the same thing. She did a lot of walking. When she did she did an 11-day dry fast, I think, at one point, and she walked, like, I don't know, 3 miles or something on her 11th day, or 10 miles. I can't remember what it was, but walking, I find, really helped me get through, because it's challenging. You don't feel comfortable sometimes, or I didn't. And I wasn't terribly hungry necessarily, but I would have killed for a glass of water. you 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 want to drink something, and so you just think, but inside, I can get through this. I'm not going to die. I'm not particularly comfortable, and I feel like I'm burning up, and my brain has kind of got a slight headache from all the detox, but I can get through this. And that's how I did it. And
What
it
I
sure, well,
realized, that you were able to go through dry fasting without big issues, mental issues, because you have done water fasting. So your mindset, your mentality was prepared for this. You knew already that you can do it, even though you didn't know what is dry fasting, but at least being without food already was something very habitual to you. What do you think about people? What can you suggest to people who have never fasted, never did water fasting, and they are scared? They read this information in Google that after 3 days without food and water, you die. And there are a lot of relatives of those people who think the same, and they are scared. Like, what kind of journey is this? Is it set? It's something else. What can you say regarding these fears?
oh, this step in the water's just fine. Come on in. I think if anybody condemns it, like some of these doctors say, oh, it's dangerous and all that. Invariably, it's somebody who's never done it before. It's somebody who really doesn't have the actual experience of doing it. And
Especially
there is a,
doctors who say that you do not have to. Usually they have never
yeah,
fasted and they have never
that's
cured with fasting.
That's right, exactly. So, and partly, well, they make their money when people are sick, also. But that's another whole different topic. But I don't think most doctors are malevolent that way. But they just aren't. They just don't
I
know. And
truly believe that they just believe because they have never
mhm,
experienced and they truly believe
yes,
in the theory they have read in other books.
mhm, yes, exactly. I think you hit it right in the head. And I would just say to those people, uh, what the suggestion is to work into it slowly. Like I said, when I started with my 3 day, I didn't dive right into a 5 day. when I did
3 days
my dry
is
fast.
already too much for a newbies, I should say to you. When I was a newbie, 3 days for me, it was like universe somewhere very far away from me.
Wow. Yeah, I can't. Well, some people, and especially mainstream people, they're so used to eating and drinking, and it's so foreign, and it's very kind of. It would be scary, I suppose. I mean, I all I can say is don't be afraid. Just do as much as you maybe feel. Learn to feel what you're feeling inside and what your body wants and can handle, and go as far as you can, and then come out of it properly. Don't do like a day or two and then suddenly go out and get a roasted chicken and a bottle of wine or something, to end your fast. Do it properly. Start slowly to introduce food, and there's a lot of guidelines that if you go in, read Michelle's book, for example. There's guidelines in there how you can come out of a 3-day fast or a 5-day fast. The longer you're in the fast, the longer it takes to come out, because you start more slowly. If you're in a 5-day fast, then you have like a period where you just sip only water for a little bit, and then you maybe have a little fruit compote, and you just introduce slowly. You don't just wham, start eating again. And that's the only thing I would say, is just be sure you come out of it, but then just increase it each time, make it a little longer, and until you're comfortable doing 3 or 4 or
Yeah.
5 days. And
Another thing that I wanted to ask you, if you have had exacerbations during your journey, because people are experiencing exacerbations during fasting, after fasting. Did you experience that, or it went smoothly for you?
exacerbations, you mean like, well, I think, yes, they're actually, is it the sixth night? There's, yeah, I think it's the sixth night. I would often have a panic attack, and it would last maybe 20 minutes or so, something like that. And it would just be, it wasn't necessarily like I was going to die or anything like that, but I just felt extremely uncomfortable. And I wasn't uncomfortable in my own skin. I just was like, I just want to end this. It's just not comfortable. And I was just, I was like, but when that happened, I breathed deeply. And there's on the Montenegro course, we learned how to breathe, different breathing techniques, but I just breathe deeply and hold it for a little bit and then just let it out.
Because people are
Just
experiencing different type of exacerbations, as we always say that healing process is usually through exacerbations. Yours
Mhm.
was maybe kind of smooth and soft. Some other people
Mhm.
experience much harder. So
Mhm.
I wanted just to make sure people understand that this is a part of healing journey. If you want something not noticeable, you would rather go for medicines that are just silencing your body, because people are going through hard times during dry fasting and on exit. You've seen different people on the retreat. Did you see some other experiences? Because I don't want to sell as a magic for everyone. Everyone has its own experience. Someone has gotten the results. Someone else has to work much more on it. Did you see other people getting the results? Did you see other people going through exacerbations? Just as you as an external observation, your observations regarding that. Did you see something that you can share?
I did. The people who came to the retreat with the thought that it was just going to be a vacation and they could just sit around and not move, and maybe read a book, those are the ones that didn't make it through. And the ones that moved, the ones that walked, and this is true, Sveta, because I would see these guys on, miles out from, and they're the ones that made it through. The ones that they didn't necessarily kill themselves walking, they didn't try to walk uphill when it was too hard, but they just moved, and they have the attitude that I'm going to keep my lymph flowing, and I'm going to get through this, and it's not going to be pleasant, but it's worth it. You see, I had the choice of either going through 9 days of hell, and it was kind of hell. I mean, I'm not during the fast, it's not fun. And if you do feel increased anxiety, because there's a lot more cortisol, that when it increases your cortisol, so that you're always kind of a little on edge, but it's not unbearable, but it's uncomfortable, and you don't it's not something that you really enjoy. So, and that's why I said that I didn't feel good even at the end of the fast for several days sometimes, because you're still recovering, you're still kind of healing and getting back into the groove. But then when the stem cells kick in 20 days later, then you just really, it is so worth it. It is just like I had the choice of either 9 days of relative hell, which is dry fasting, or if I didn't do that, then I was going to have years of decline, of a steady decline with a horrific pain and a hopelessness, and a point at some point not even be able to ever recover from that, and then have a drawn out death where I was just in constant pain and lethargy and feeling and immobilized and feeling like I wanted to die. They could have gone on for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So that was my choice: 9 days of hell, dry fasting, or years of misery. And for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to take the 9 days of hell. Thank you very much. And then the recovery. So that puts it more in perspective. I'm not portraying this as something that you're going to go, oh, you're just going to feel wonderful and you're going to be walking around. No, it wasn't the case with me. There's
Did
a
you
few people that
see Did you see people who were gaining results besides you? Did you see, because each retreat, we have also people who are coming back to us. Did you hear the stories, positive stories of others with the results, or you were the only one?
I did. Um, yes, I think. What was her name? The Hammer Lucy. Remember Lucy, the one who talks all. And she shared a little bit about how every time she did a dry fast, she felt a lot better for a while. And then if she didn't, if she'd gotten back into old habits, then she'd start feeling crappy again. And then she'd do another dry fast. And so for her, that was the cycle. And then who else was it? I guess the other guys were pretty quiet. The ones that had really that were did come back, they were just kind of real quiet. They didn't really share their experiences that much, but you could kind of tell that they really got a lot out of it. I mean, they were very light. There was a lot of light coming out of them, and their eyes were bright and
Yeah,
but
usually we
I
ask
think
people not to talk much because they have to keep the energy inside of them. So people who
yeah.
return usually are very silent. Yes, indeed. So,
Mhm.
but you could feel different energies, right? And about Lucy, that she told about coming back to past patterns as well. That's why people are having drawn backs,
Yeah,
so-called.
sure.
This is
Mhm.
very interesting point as well. What I have noticed as well, that healing is not only on physical level, but also on mindset level. If you don't change the not only lifestyle, but also your mindset, you probably would never be able to heal. You will be always bringing back to where you were or right now, because your mindset has brought you to the point where you are right now. And if you will not change, nothing crucially will change in your life. I want also people to think about that it's not only about physical, and sometimes it's good to go to work first with your head. Lucy's not about you. I love you. It's generally about people that I see that can go on for years
Mhm.
making the noise about their healing without actually changing things in their lives, and without changing their mindset, and especially negative approach to things. You will never be able to heal your body, because body is usually adapting itself to your mind. I will repeat, body is adapting to your mind. So if you want always to find something negative around, or you will not change something what brought you to the point you are right now, you will be always at the same point, doing a lot of things, a lot of trials, but you will be always at the same point. I really want people to take things holistically and not only think that 7-9 days of dry fast is a miracle that will heal. No. If you are always searching for things that you do not like, make sure that healing process is not happening to you. Somehow, I want people to think about where they are right now, about their mindset, about their positivity or negativity. Because, for example, why I'm asking about other people's experiences, what you have found there. Maybe now you will share as well if you saw any dangerous situation going on there. Because whenever you want to find something negative, your focus of the attention will be always on a negative things, and you will always find something. If you want to find something positive, you will always find something positive, and your focus of the attention will be always on the positive, and this helps to change things. Because we always have some negative comments, negative feedbacks, but we do not want to share them, because if there is negative and positive, we want rather to give hope than to show that there are negative people or negative mindset or negative feedbacks. There are always both, never the same. But still, why I'm speaking with you as well, because you've got very encouraging and inspiring results that you wanted to share with and you were unstoppable in that. Did you see any dangerous situations on the retreat? Did you see something that could make worry other people, as you see, if you have seen, because maybe you haven't seen and they happened?
There was one situation. What you just said, Sveta, reminded me. I did transcendental meditation for 40 years or more, and Maharishi used to say, "What we put our attention on grows." And what you said, that encapsulates what you said, and it's so true. And I'm finding myself less tolerant of people that are negative. In terms, I just stay away from them. I don't, I just I'm just going in off in the positive now, and I just want people that are uplifting and so it's a natural shift that's going on. But yeah, there was one. Sophie was having real problems at one point, but I never felt as though it was dangerous. But she was definitely going through some very serious detox, and probably from drugs that she had taken, or pharmaceuticals that she'd taken, and so she was very, very weak. And but it was handled perfect. It was handled very well. I think they took her back to the room, and I don't know whether she came out of the fast. I don't know the details or whatever, but a few days later she looked fine. She looked good. So I think
She looked good at the first day of exit, immediately after.
Yeah, yes. So I think the setup with as far as the way Dr. Filonov does, I mean, he's accessible. He's living right next to where we're staying. So, and we have an hour or more lecture every day. So we have tremendous access to him. I mean, there's no doctor in America that I know of allows this kind of access to his patients. I mean, it's just completely unique and affordable, and
And there are
it's
still
just
people who are saying that it's not enough. When you give yourself at 300% and you hear that it's not enough, okay,
it's so much.
let's change the doctor then.
It's so much more, and both of you give like that, and it's because you're there with him and translating and everything. So no, I feel like there's nothing, it's very safe. I mean, if you're going to do dry fasting, if you're thinking of, for example, going on one of Dr. Filonov's retreats, that is like the safest way to do it, because he has such experience, and his staff are his family members, really, and they're marvelous. They have such experience dealing with this that they can handle any situation that comes up, and you're safer in that situation than you would be anywhere else in the world. So no,
Can you tell a few words about the treatments? Because some people, I sometimes see that they compare, oh, there are like massages here, massages there, same treatments in different retreats. Could you think that in some other retreats you could even find something similar to the treatments that we give?
Not even close, and they're brutal. I can tell you that right now. It's like pain upon pain upon pain. I finally would have done 11 days, but after the ninth day, I was like, that was because the ninth day is really the most powerful day. And if you can get through that, then you've really done pretty well. So it was like I would go to I was feeling, pretty crappy to begin with, and then I would go, and the massages are quite strong. Now you can tell them to be more gentle, and they'll do that. But in my case, I wanted the best effect. I was not going to baby myself, so I just let them have at it. And in that case, it is deep and intense, and it's like, so you're feeling crappy to begin with. You go in, and it's nothing but pain upon misery upon pain and misery, and now I'm scaring people away. But
Yeah,
there's a
I want people to be aware of where they are going to. First, I don't want to sell miracles. They do not exist. Miracle is something you are doing step by step for your body, for your healing process, like a puzzle, like you put every day a puzzle to your healing story. It's not a miracle. If you have a result, means that you have done a lot for that. You have gone through a lot of hell because dry fasting is hard. You have gone through a lot of preparation, through correct protocols. Otherwise, it will not happen. Like, it's not occasional. Result is never occasional. So also about mindset, I see a lot of things happening as well that depend on your mindset a lot. So yes, that's why I want to share, and who only for those who are ready, who search for hope and not for negative comments. If people are trying to find somewhere else only negativity, please just change and try to find someone else. Do not come to us. So we give what we can at the point where you're right now, because sometimes we work with people who haven't been through a lot of fasting, but since the time is working against us always, we take from the moment you are right now, we see if it is really possible to do for you, and we say what you can do, like considering our experience. But it's never about miracles. It's about the journey. Retreat is not the final destination. It's always either your beginning, it can be also your beginning. Either it's in the middle of your experience, or it's already like just before the result will come. It's a journey. It's not the promise of miracle. So I really enjoy saying the truth about how brutal we are, how direct we can be, and all other stuff, just for people who are watching this, to them to realize where they are going without expectation of the Western medicine approach, because we do not offer that. Even though we are working with the Western people, at the beginning we were asked to behave that way, but we are not. It's not our DNA. So we behave as we are, and who wants to come to us, come to what we offer, and not to what they expect us to offer. These are two different approaches. So that's why I'm glad you to share.
You're so much better than what is offered out there. I would say uh, don't don't judge early. In other words, um, just if you put your mindset in, and realize that this is probably going to be something really good for you, just go through it and don't judge it until 21 days after the end of the fast, because you may not feel great during the fast, and you may not feel great even at the end of the fast. But this is a long-term thing. This is not something where you're going to get instant, like you take a little pill and suddenly you feel better. This is like the antithesis of that. This is a long-term thing. And if you make the commitment and make the mindset, if you will, that I am going to get through this. And I know I'm not going to feel good. Maybe at times I might feel good. But whatever happens, I'm getting through this. I'm going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And Dr. Filonov has the most experience with this. I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to judge it until 21 days after I finish the fast. That's the attitude to have. And if you do, I will promise you that there's a very good chance you're going to get really good. At least I can say from my side, that is fantastic. I'm getting incredible results, and I am so grateful for having been exposed. So,
do you have anything else to share with others? Will you fast? Will you fast? What is your like next dynamic of fasting of your lifestyle.
I,
What do you think about that?
I was just about, I haven't fasted at all since Montenegro, and everything's been fine. I haven't had any symptoms of any kind. And my energy's great. I was just about to maybe start one day of water fasting tomorrow and then do a 5-day fast before Christmas. But then I realized that I've got a lot of food in my refrigerator that needs to be eaten up. And it's good
Yeah,
organic
this is the
food.
problem.
So, so I think I'll wait maybe until after Christmas and then do a 5-day fast, just as kind of a maintenance fast.
So
I
you
don't
think to do
necessarily.
it, you think to do it intuitively whenever it will come to you to fast, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I do. And at this point, I feel like I don't necessarily need it, but I think it's just a good idea to do it. It's just my feeling. As a maintenance, maybe every couple, 2, 3 months, do a 5-day fast, and it'll just keep things going in the right direction. And so yeah, I was gonna do it, but I'll eat up
The
my
beauty,
organic.
the beauty of this fasting experience is that you are getting the contact with your body, and your body is telling you when you want to fast for different reasons. I already experienced that, and it's really working so good. Like first my body is telling, and maybe the tests are telling to me what's going on. So, but body was first. And this is the greatest experience of being connected to yourself, dry fasting, really. So wish you the best. Wish
Oh,
wish you the healthiest possible future, because we never know how long we will live, but the quality of life definitely depends on us. And there
it
is very
certainly
nice saying: if you are not changing, means you are choosing.
does.
And with this, if you have nothing to add, I will say goodbye to everyone. Wish you everyone to make right decisions in your life and to meet right people on your path.
That's a beautiful thought, Sveta, and that I've enjoyed so much this time. It's such a privilege and pleasure to be around, to have you in my living room where you are now. And I, I hope things go fabulously well for you and you get tremendous support of nature for every desire that you have. And you and Dr. Filonov are wonderful. So thank you so much for.
Thank you, James. Bye-bye to everyone.
Bye.